Hello and welcome to Elemental Hardware Enrichment. My name is Aiden, and today we're going to be building a pin art board. Before we get started with building, let's go ahead and talk about the different supplies that we're going to need for this project. So for this project, we're going to need a roll of tape, a sanding block, a hardware tray, some sandpaper, a pencil, a bottle of glue, a damp rag to clean up any glue that might spill, a piece of grid paper, and our safety glasses. Let's go ahead and put those on now. Now that we've introduced all of our supplies, let's go ahead and get out the tools that we're going to need for this project. So for this project, I'm just going to need a hammer. So let me open up my toolkit and get it out. Once I've got my hammer, I can go ahead and close up my toolkit and get it out of my way. Now that we've introduced our supplies and tools, let's go ahead and open up our box and talk about the different materials that we're going to find inside. All right, we're ready to open up our box and talk about what's inside. So to open my box, I'm going to be using the back of my hammer, and I'm just going to run it along the tape where the two box flaps meet to split it open. Once I've got it split open, I can go ahead and grab the corners and pry them open with my hands. Now that I've got my box open, let's go ahead and see what's inside. The first thing I'm going to be taking out is some packing paper. Be sure to open it up and check to make sure there's nothing wrapped up inside it before you get it out of your way. The next thing we're going to be taking out is our bag of hardware. We'll go ahead and talk about that in just a second. I'm going to put it in my tray for now. Next, inside our box, we should have two wood pieces. The first piece looks like this. On one side, we have 4 pre-drilled holes, one at each corner. And the other side, there is the 4 pre-drilled holes, as well as an inset hole at the top center, and you'll also see the Elemental Hardware logo. This is going to be the back of our project. The other piece is the exact same size, but it has no holes on either side. This is going to be the front of our project. Now that we've got both of our pieces introduced, let's go ahead and talk about the hardware that's going to come with this project. So if you open up your hardware bag, inside you're going to find a few other bags. The first one you'll find is the yellow dot bag. This one's going to contain your rubber bands. Next, you'll find your red dot bag, and this one is going to contain your 3/4 inch finish nails. The last bag we're taking out has a green dot, and this one is going to contain our 3/4 inch panel nails. Now that we have all of our hardware out of the way, I can go ahead and get the box and this bag out of my way, and we can move on to our next step. For the next step, we're going to be sanding our pieces to prep them for paint. Okay, let's go ahead and get started sanding. So to sand, I'm going to take my sandpaper and open it up so that the soft side is facing up. I'm then going to place my sanding block so that it fits across the paper and fold the sandpaper around it just like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and sand any rough edges on my project so they're ready to be painted. One trick you can do is, since these pieces are both the exact same size, you can line them up and hold them together while you sand and save yourself a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and start sanding now. All right, I've got both my pieces sanded, so now I'm going to go ahead and wipe them down with my rag to remove any dust. Once you've cleaned off your pieces, be sure to wipe up your work area. All right, great. I've got my pieces sanded and cleaned up, so now I'm going to go get them painted and I'll be right back. All right, I've got my pieces all painted and now we're ready to get started with our project. So let me actually move these off to the side for just a second, and I want to talk about how we're using our hammer for this project. So when you're holding your hammer, you always want to be holding the hammer using your dominant hand. For me, that's my right hand. And you want to hold from the very center of the handle. That's going to give you the best combination of power and leverage. We also want to make sure that while we're hammering, we're always hammering flat onto whatever it is that we're hammering. So for example, if I were to take my sanding block and place it on the table, when I'm striking down on it with my hammer, I want to make sure that the head of the hammer is landing completely flat on whatever I'm hammering. So remember, we're always hammering with our dominant hand and just one hand. Our other hand is going to be used to hold the pieces steady while we're hammering. But we want to make sure to be careful to move our fingers away from where the hammer is landing so we don't accidentally hit our fingers. So I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of that right now using my sanding block. Holding the hammer right at the center of the handle with my dominant hand, using my other hand to hold the piece steady, and hammering straight down onto the piece that I'm hammering. Now that we've practiced that, let's go ahead and put it into use and put our pin art board together. All right, now we're ready to start assembling our pin art board. So let's go ahead and grab our two pieces. And remember, we're going to check for the front piece, which has no pre-drilled holes, and the back piece, which has one pre-drilled hole at each corner, the logo, and the inset here at the top. We need to make sure that this is the top of our pin art board and that this part is the back. That's the side with the inset hole. What we're going to do is we're going to start by laying our front piece down on our desk so that the unpainted side is facing up. If you painted both sides, it doesn't matter, just pick one. This is going to be the back that's facing up. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the red cap from our glue and put it in our tray so we don't lose it. And we're going to draw a square of glue around the rim of our front piece. Once you've drawn your glue on there, you're going to go ahead and draw an X right through the center. Once you have your glue on there just like that, you're going to go ahead and spread the glue out evenly using your finger. Once you've got the glue all spread out, go ahead and clean your finger off using your rag. What we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and lay our back piece right over the top of that glued edge. But we want to make sure that the side with the inset hole is facing up. So we'll go ahead and line that up, and then we're going to take some time to make sure our two pieces are flush. One easy way to help you with this is to take your sanding block and place it right up against one of the long side edges. That's going to help you flush up that edge, so you just have to worry about your short side edges. Once you've got your pieces all flushed up, you're going to go ahead and grab your red dot bag and dump out your finish nails into your tray. We're going to be placing one finish nail into each of the pre-drilled holes in our back piece. Once you have your nails set in there, go ahead and double check that your edges are flush. And then we're going to tack in our first nail. Remember, that means we're going to hit it about halfway in. So I'm going to start with this nail closest to me, and I'm going to tack it in. Once I've tacked in that first nail, I'm going to double check that my pieces are flush, and I'm going to go ahead and hammer in my second nail. This one you can hit all the way down. Once you have that second nail in, go ahead and do one last check to make sure everything's flush, and let's finish off the rest of our nails. Once you have all your nails hammered in, go ahead and check to see if you have any excess glue that's spilling out the sides. I can see that I have a little bit here, so I'm just going to go ahead and wipe that up with my rag. Once you've wiped up all your glue, you're ready to move on to your next step, which is going to be setting your design over the top so you can begin setting the nails for your pin art board. Alright, so now I'm ready to attach the design that I made to the top of my pin art board. So earlier I went ahead and sketched out this design on my grid paper, and I put dots along the design for where I'm going to be setting my nails. The next step is going to be to lay this right over the top of my paper and tape it down into place so I can hammer in my nails. So I'm going to take a little bit of tape, tear it off, and I'm just going to tape this down at each corner to make sure it's nice and secure. Alright, once you have your paper at a place that you're happy with, you can go ahead and get started nailing down your design. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my green dot bag. This is going to have my 3/4 inch panel nails inside. So I'm going to open up my bag and dump it into my tray. And I have 20 nails here, but I don't actually have 20 marks, so I'm not going to be using all my nails. And I'm just going to start by picking up one nail and starting at my very first mark here at the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch the nail in my offhand, and try to hold it as low as possible away from the head. And I'm going to place it right over that mark that I made on my paper. Then I'm going to very lightly tap it with my hammer just to set it in place. Once I've set it in place, I'm going to move my hand away from the nail. Remember, I'm still holding my piece in place with my offhand, just not quite so close. And then I'm going to go ahead and tap this nail down about halfway to 3/4 of the way into the wood. Once you've got it at a place that you're happy with, go ahead and move on to your next nail. Just like we did before, we're going to hold it right over that dot, give it a couple taps to set it. Once it's set, we're going to move our fingers away and tap it down the rest of the way. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that with the rest of my nails to make my design. Alright, I've got all my nails set in there, so the next step is going to be to rip the paper away and start setting my rubber bands to finish off the project. Alright, we're ready to rip the paper away and begin setting our rubber bands to finish off the design. So you want to be a little bit careful when you're doing this, because you don't want to leave too much stray paper wrapped around those nails. So you're going to go slow and slowly start to tear the paper away. Once you have most of the paper torn off, you can carefully try to remove all the little bits that are left around your nails. Alright, we've got off as much paper as we can, so now it's time to set our rubber bands and finish off our design. So inside your bag, you should have 10 different colored rubber bands. So let's go ahead and open those up and figure out which ones we want to use. First, I'm going to organize them by color. Looks like I've got 3 yellow ones, 3 red ones, 3 blue ones, and a green one. You have 10 rubber bands, and you may not end up using them all. It's just there if you need them. So I'm going to start by building the E for my Elemental Hardware initials. And I think I'm going to start here at the top with a yellow rubber band, and I'm going to run it all the way down to the bottom to make the outline for my E. And you can kind of work your rubber bands around to figure out the best way to make your design. Sometimes you may need to double up the rubber band if your nails are too close together. So you can twist it around like that, wrap it around one nail, and then bring it back over to fill in that space, just like that. Now I have my E. So let's go ahead and do the H next. For the H, I think I'm going to go with blue. So I'm going to start again by just making the outline for my H. And you know, I think I'm going to need a few rubber bands for this one. So I'll do the horizontal line there. And maybe I can bend this one around to make the rest of my H. So there you go. I've got my EH initials right here. You know, this project is really fun because there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. You can get really creative with the way that you design your pin art board and set up your rubber bands. And I hope you guys have a lot of fun with it at home. So thank you for joining me today at Elemental Hardware Enrichment to join this pin art board. I really hope you had fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one.